You ever have homeowners lie to you or withhold the truth, and you're finding that it's really difficult to have an honest sales conversation because you know in your heart of hearts that you're the best person for them to choose and the best company for them to choose? Well, in this interview with Marcus Sheridan, we're going to break down the real reason that homeowners are lying to you and how to make sure it never happens again. Stick through to the very end because Marcus is going to teach you the 4 steps to having what he calls an honest agreement, which is going to set up your sales conversations to be easier than ever before so you can close even more sales. Now let's get into it.
All right. One that I want to teach you here, Adam, and this extension of what some people may have seen with Sandler sales, but it's much more than this. I call it the honest agreement. The honest agreement. Now, what is the honest agreement? Well, it would be nice if every homeowner or every prospect you ever had was very honest with you during the sales conversation. But the truth is, oftentimes they're not honest with you. In fact, the number one reason why homeowners are not honest with a salesperson, do you know why it is, Adam?
They're playing their cards close and don't want to be sold.
Okay.
They don't want it used against them.
Yeah, that's number 2.
Okay.
Number 1, and that was good, by the way. Number 1 is they don't want to hurt their feelings.
They don't really.
Yes. So, for example, let's say you go into a home and the homeowner likes you, but they didn't like your plan. They didn't like your price. They didn't like whatever the thing was. And they say, oh, this was great. We really appreciate you coming out. We just need a little bit of time to think about it. But in their gut, what they're thinking is, there's this thing over here that's wrong. We don't like it, but we don't want to tell you because you've been nice enough to come out here. You seem like a nice person, all these things. We know, so they'd rather give you hope than give you honesty. They like you, and so therefore they're protecting your feelings. Now, they don't realize that screws you for later because it creates a false pipeline that's actually real.
Yeah.
So to address this problem and to also create a very deep connection early, we start most sales conversations with what we call the honest agreement. Now, this will happen usually after the first few minutes. So it's not the first thing you're going to say when you get into the home, let's say, but you're going to say this very, very early in the process. And it might sound something like this, Adam. I'm going to have you be the customer.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to sound, I've never done this actually for roofing, I don't think, for me personally. Some of my trainers have, but probably not me. Okay. So, Adam, before we get into your roof today and we talk about everything that you're looking to do, let me just say this. This is a really important project for you. I understand that. And we don't want to make any mistakes. And I want to make sure we don't make any mistakes. So as to make sure this happens, here's my commitment to you. And I really mean this as I'm telling you this. For as long as we know each other, and I hope we're you're a customer for life. For as long as we know each other, my commitment is to be very open, honest, and transparent with you. I'm never going to hold anything back because I feel like you always deserve the truth. Is that fair with you?
Yeah, it's fair.
Now, at the same time, when we talk about your project, you're going to notice that I'm going to ask you questions that you've probably never been asked before. You're like, wow. The reason is because I want to make sure we get to the heart of the matter. So when I ask you those questions, I need you to really dig into them, push through with me. This way, again, we're going to eliminate mistakes and we're going to find the perfect solution for you. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Now, last thing I'm going to ask you. This is a two-way street. So just as I'm going to be super honest and transparent with you, I want you to be the same with me. Now, listen, when it comes to a home improvement project like this, today, I'm going to show you some things. Now, there's a pretty decent chance that as I show you these things, at least one thing I show you, you're not going to like it. Oh, by the way, that's good. It's good. And when you don't like it in that moment, what do you need to tell me?
I don't like it.
You don't like it, right? And why is that such a good thing? Because if you don't tell me that, what happens?
Then I have to listen to all the things I don't want to hear.
That's right. And we waste time. And potentially we make mistakes.
Yeah.
So for the sake of this conversation, Adam, can you commit to being 100% open, honest, and transparent, knowing you'll never hurt my feelings? And if we do this, it's going to create a great experience. Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome. Let's get into it. That's the honest agreement. That's the honest agreement. Now, you've done a lot of sales training, right? You've heard about the initial contract, but
Mhm.
most people don't go into that type of detail.
No, they don't. That was beautiful, by the way. I can totally see how that sets the tone and is a massive differentiator out of the gate. Something you and I have never talked about this, but I say that every human has naturally what I call the comparison creature.
Mm,
And that is when you have 3 salespeople in the home, without even consciously doing it, we're gonna compare everybody.
no,
And that is
right,
such a beautiful opener that's like, "Wait a minute, no one else made me feel that safe that I could just be me and not have to like, where I and plus it creates a sense of collaboration, like, this is a we decision. I have other ways I've
right,
taught that, but never that way, to create it being a we decision versus I'm going to sell you, persuade you, influence you. I want your
right.
business. And now it's the dynamic changes. So beautiful start. I
I'm
love that.
glad you liked it. Let me break down the parts really quickly to
Mhm.
what we just did. Part 1, we said this is a big deal. We don't want to make any mistakes.
Mhm.
Part 2, my commitment to you is to be 100% open, honest, and transparent. I feel like you deserve that. I feel like that's what you would want. Now, of course, the person's saying yes, but what they're also thinking is, wow, this person's an authority,
Mhm.
which is a huge deal. You've got to be the authority. You've got to be seen as a leader. This is going to induce quick respect. Part 3, I
Mhm.
said, now I'm also going to ask you some questions you've never been asked before. Now, that's important on a few different fronts because I want them realizing this ain't like everybody else. And I am going to ask questions that they haven't been asked before. And uh and I say, now when I ask you those, I need you to push through with me because that's going to make sure we don't make mistakes and we have the, we end up having the perfect outcome. Now, the reason why that's a big deal is because when I do ask those questions later, he or she has already given me permission to ask them. So we've set the conditions whereby if I say as a question like this, if I would say, "Now I'm looking at your addition. Tell me, when you think back to your home as a child, inside the home, what is the vision you see with your family at that time? I want to see it just like you see it. Explain it to me as clear as day." Now, that's a very common question that we ask in lots of different industries. You ask it in different ways, but essentially what you want them to do is become emotionally rooted in a past experience. You want to see what they see because ultimately we're all just trying to recreate moments that we've had in the past.
Mhm.
So if you can do that with the person, that's very, very powerful. All right. No different if somebody's buying a boat. I'm going to say, tell me about your most incredible moment as a child on the water. They're going to repeat something. And I promise you, that's what they want to do. In this case, with their family, they're going to want to repeat that. All right. That's why they're buying this boat. Now, this becomes a strong emotional connector. But in order to ask deep questions like that, guess what? You got to get permission.
Yeah.
So that's why it's part 3. Part four was, but I'm going to need the same commitment from you. I want you to be open, honest, and transparent. And notice I added a caveat and we did almost a little role play. I said, there's going to be things I'm going to show you today that you're not going to like. When I show you something you don't like, guess what? That's good. And when I do show you something you don't like, guess what you need to say? Now, notice now I moved into a role play with the homeowner. Homeowner says, I need to tell you. I'm like, that's right. Because if you don't tell me, what's the problem with that? And then, see, I'm asking you a question. You're
Mhm.
filling in the response. Well, because we're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be good. And we're going to waste a bunch of time. Exactly.
Mhm.
So can we commit to do this today? And then you say yes. So I get a verbal contract with you. That's our first verbal contract. Now, when you can make verbal contracts with a homeowner early, you're much more likely to make written contracts with that person later on.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the honest agreement. Oh, just one more thing I'll say about it. That takes training and practice to do it well and natural. For those of you that say, well, I think I did it one time, it was awkward. Yeah, because A, you didn't practice, B, you did it one time.
Mhm.
I do it in such a way it feels very, very flowing and natural. Like, of course, yes, oh yeah, that's great,
Mhm.
right? But if If you're awkward about it, they're going to sense that it's awkward. And a lot of people are just like, wow, it sets such a condition of candor and honesty. Later on, they're going to say, you remember earlier when you said, be honest with you? I got to be honest. You guys are, and they're going to tell you the truth. Instead of protecting your feelings, now because they've committed, they're way more likely to say, well, to be totally honest, your color sucks. And I think it's so butt ugly. And I know you want me to tell you that. Oh, I do want you to tell me that. Tell me, why is it butt ugly? Right. And so now we're going to make progress. But otherwise, they would have sent us off, with our drawing or with our proposal, whatever. They knew we worked on it. They didn't want to hurt our little feelings. Now, you will have to remind them of this promise throughout the relationship. There will be times when you see that they're hedging and you'll say, you remember how we said we would always be 100% open, honest, transparent with each other? My sense is there's something right now that you need to tell me you just haven't yet.
Yeah.
Is that the case? Yes, Marcus. Well, truth is, now here it comes. And it's glorious. By the way, if you're listening to this right now, you should have already figured out why I said this would have as much impact, if not more, on you personally than professionally. When I interview my kids, I've got, throughout their childhood, we would do interviews with dad. We start with an honest agreement. It's very, very loving, right? It's going to sound something like this. Let's just say, my kid's name was Adam, right? It's like, Adam, you know how much this moment means to me to sit with you each month and have this conversation. I hope it means a ton to you too. These are really, really important meetings. And as we always say, my commitment to you in this meeting is I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be transparent because I love you. And I think you deserve the truth. Is that fair? Yeah, Dad, it's fair. Now, I'm always going to ask you questions, right? Because unless I ask you questions, what's wrong with that? Well, yeah, we don't grow, Dad. That's right. So we're going to push through those questions together. Fair? Yes, Dad. Now, I'm an imperfect dad. I've probably made some mistakes. If I've made mistakes, when do you got to mention those mistakes? Now's the time, Dad. That's right. You got to mention them now, because if you don't tell me, what's the problem with that? Well, you won't know. That's right. And I won't grow. And I want to grow as your dad. So would you be willing to be 100% open and honest, transparent with me because you love me in this conversation today, son? Yes. Boom. Same thing. Same principle. Doesn't change. Okay. You can do this with one-on-ones with your team members, just across the board. You notice I did that one as if we've had it before, because people will say to me, do you do that every time you talk with an employee for an important meeting? We do it. We just have a modification as like it's understood that, hey, we're recommitting in this moment.
Yeah. Getting under a new agreement.
Yeah. Powerful. Anybody does that? Game changer. You're going to stand out that second. You're not going to be like everybody else.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. Now, Marcus, you do this without thought because you're an expert in communication. And I love when we were shooting the breeze before hitting the record button, you said your gift to the world is to help people communicate better. And you can package this up in sales and marketing and leadership and all these different envelopes, so to speak.
That's right.
And one word that you use frequently in the honest agreement is the word because. And I noticed that as a speaker, and again, you do this without thought, you emphasize it because, and then you explain it. And I want to mention a study that was done where people were getting in line at a college back when people used to have to get in line to use a copy machine. And version 1 was, hey, can I cut in line to make some copies? And there was like 29% of people that said yes. And then the next version was, hey, can I cut in line to make some copies because I don't want to wait? I mean, let's be honest, total BS excuse, because I don't want to wait. And the number shot up to something like 93%. And then the next one was because I'm running late. So same intro, can I cut in line to make copies? Low compliance, massive level of compliance once adding the word because, and only a marginal difference from 93 to 94% once the excuse was even decent. And psychologically, our brains search for meaning. So as you're creating this honest agreement and stating, hey, this is going to be a really big decision, and I want to make sure that we make no mistakes because this is so important to you. Like you can even repeat the past. Same thing when I'm looking at my notes, I need the same thing from you, because this is a two-way street. So I just wanted to highlight.
Really observant, Adam.
Thank you.
And I don't even think I realized I used that word that way. If I may add something to that.
Please do.
What you just described is, and I have you can read more about this on my site at questionfirstgroup.com. But there's a technique that we teach. It's it's a pillar of transformative communication, which is called Vanguarding. Vanguarding is knowing what could go wrong and getting in front of it. The greatest way in life to resolve a concern is to address it before it becomes a concern, not after. So the great salespeople know, okay, what are going to be the exit doors of the mind that the prospect has? How do I close those before they even manifest? Whereas the less advanced salespeople, they get hit with a bunch of doubts or reasons as to why it's not a fit, or excuses, or all these things. So they're being reactive. Whereas you always want to be very proactive and get in front of these things. So when you do an honest agreement, that is one big fat vanguard. Within that, there's other vanguards. Each time I say, because I'm getting in front of them thinking why. I don't want them to say why. I want them to say, well, of course. Yes, that makes so much sense. This is so refreshing. All of it is a vanguard. Whenever there's a communication breakdown in life, you can always do this. Ask yourself, what was the vanguard that was missed? Every single time. Every single time. And it's not just what we say, but it's how we set up the moment. Classic example. One major vanguard of in-home selling is that you don't sell in the living room. You sell at the kitchen table. Well, anybody that's been in the game and paid attention for any period of time knows that closing rates are higher in the kitchen. Why? Because in the kitchen, you're sitting more upright instead of on a couch. And instead of facing the TV, you're facing each other. And your proximity is much closer, so it's a more intimate setting. Closing rates go up. Now, designing it so that you do it in the kitchen is a vanguard. You walk in the house, say, can we sit at your kitchen table, please? So, oh, we were thinking about the living room. If it's okay, I'd rather have the table just to work on. Would that be all right with you? Yeah, sure, that's fine. Boom. What they don't realize is now we've created an environment where we're all sitting almost equidistant from each other. The proximity is more of the sardine effect, which is what we want, right? We're leaning into each other. The focus is there and the energy is right. It's all vanguards, all of it.
That's beautiful. Have you read the book, The Like Switch, by chance?
I'm not.
This is another fantastic book I'd recommend. And I wanted to point out Jack Schaefer, he's a former FBI interrogator. And his job with the FBI was to identify foreign spies in the United States, befriend them, and get them to spy on their home country from the U.S. Yes, we have Jack Schaefer ran it. He literally created what he calls the friendship formula, which he outlines in the book, The Like Switch. He wrote another book, which the title's on the tip of my tongue. It's on my reading list, which is in the free training center. There's a link below. And the friendship formula, and I'll give you this in a story. When he spotted first a Russian spy in the United States, obviously the stakes are pretty high to go to the Russian spy and be like, hey, you should be my buddy and spy on Russia. Like, the consequences are pretty high, right? Like, you're going to jail and you'll get killed in jail by some hit declared in Russia, or you're going to get kicked out of the US back to Russia and you're going to die when you're in Russia. And he used these approaches where he wouldn't have the initial conversation unless he was walking with them side by side, because that's what friends do.
There you go.
And so he created literally the friendship formula that is taught in the FBI through interrogation, which is 4 things. Number 1, proximity. Number 2, frequency. Number 3, duration. And number 4, intensity. And if we look at the representation of what a kitchen is to a homeowner, it is proximity. You are close together. Most kitchens aren't massive. I know rich people have really big kitchens, but even when they do, they all hover in the same corner. We all know that. That's why when your friends come over, you guys all hang out in the kitchen together. I don't know what it is about kitchens becoming a gathering place. But again, as you mentioned, proximity, I'm thinking, okay, proximity, kitchen, smaller. Yep. Duration. People spend a lot of time in their kitchen with the people that they love. The intensity of what happens in the kitchen, food is an act of love, right? Eating together is an act of love. And in the intensity, you're creating this level in intensity in a good way through this honest agreement. Like all of the elements of this formula are coming together in beautiful synergy with environment and conversation and context and differentiation. So anyway, it was a good book. I think you'd enjoy that one. And you know what? I'm going to put it in the package I'm sending you. So you'll get a copy of that one.
You're amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Can we do one last quick technique before we
Absolutely.
jump off? All right. Because again, I want to change someone's life today. This is the most simple. Have you ever had a situation in your life where somebody said something negative to you and you thought back, gosh, I wish I would have known what to say in that moment. If I just responded better, if I just hadn't have flinched. Well, there's a way that you can prevent this from happening. And let me give you an example of the wrong behavior, and then I'm going to tell you the right behavior, and I'll explain the technique. And as soon as you see it, if you just use it a couple times, you'll use it the rest of your life, and it will change your life deeply because it will prevent so many negative moments that would have happened had you not understood the principle, the technique. Okay. A lot of salespeople, if you're talking to them at the end of the conversation, let's say, Adam, and I know you don't necessarily, you teach the right techniques here, but let's assume the wrong technique for a second. Most salespeople, when the homeowner says, yeah, I really, appreciate meeting together and everything, but I got to be honest, I just feel like you guys are just so much more expensive. Okay. Classic line by a homeowner, right?
Whatever you're selling, you'll get that one.
That's right. So the most common reaction or response, what would you say it is, Adam? And I'm not saying the right one, but the most common.
From a salesperson?
Yes.
Shifting into justification.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah.
Shifting into justification, right? I need to defend my position. That is called being on your heels. And when you're on your heels, you're being reactive. It's not good. And you lose authority the entire time you do that. All right. So how do you maintain the authority, stay on the balls of your feet, and at the same time, lead the conversation where it goes without losing the negative energy? Well, the way you do it is through what I call the pushback pivot. So in life, whenever you receive pushback, it could be for anything. You need to learn to take that energy, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, and pivot the energy so that it builds towards something, because we're always trying to build. That's the key. The energy that we create as great salespeople, as great leaders, has got to be building energy.
Like
now,
Aikido.
What's that?
That's the art of Aikido.
That's right. Judo, same thing.
Yeah.
You're taking that transference of energy.
Yeah.
So the way that we would do this, the way we teach this is, if somebody tells you a negative, you take the negative word or words in the phrase, you repeat them exactly as they said them, and then you say, tell me more, or something like that. Please explain, could also be it. So for example, if someone says to you, gee, Adam, I really have enjoyed talking with you today, but you guys are just so much more expensive. The response, if you're using the pushback pivot, is expensive? Please tell me more. That's it. If someone says, I'm just not sure you guys can do this. You're not sure? Please tell me about that. If someone says, I think this is ugly. It's ugly. Please explain what you mean. Right? If someone says, like your partner, hey, I feel like you've been a jerk lately. Just say, a jerk? Please, I'm all ears. That's it. The key is don't defend. If an employee says, I think I deserve a raise. A raise? Please tell me what you're thinking. That's it. It forces the person that said the thing to explain their position. Going back to the expensive, when someone says it's expensive, you don't know what they mean by expensive. They could mean you're 10% more, 20% more. They could just be testing you. They could think you're actually cheaper, but they're just trying to get even more out of you. You don't know. So until they actually explain themselves, you're making assumptions, and we all know how that goes. Not well.
Yeah.
So don't assume. Get curious. Make them explain the thing. I thought that meeting was terrible. Terrible? Please tell me about that. Notice too, my face doesn't look pissed. If you're listening to the pod right now, you can't necessarily see it, but big part of this is your face has to say, I'm really glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you said that. You need to do this the right way, because if your spouse, your loved one says to you, you're really pissing me off, you don't say, pissing me off with a big smile. You're not going to do that, right? You're going to say, you're pissed. Please tell me more about that. It's going to have a look of, I care right now, and I'm curious right now.
Yeah.
Again, last point to this. This one technique will change your life, because you'll never say again, I wish I would have known what to say. Take the word, don't use your word, take their word, repeat it, and just have them explain it. If you do that, everything changes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Marcus, thank you.
My pleasure.